All right, so the big news that we are really focusing on today. Washington Post has made some serious allegations on the Indian government, stating that the government has pressurized Life Insurance Corporation of India in funding the Adani Group with investments worth $3.9 billion, which includes, remember, $500 million worth of bond subscription for Adani Ports for debt refinancing, is what they stated. LIC has vehemently denied these allegations, calls them baseless, and also states that there is a due diligence process for investments which have no interference from the government. LIC's 36,000 crore rupees invested in Adani Group is just 1% of their total assets under management, which is well within their norms. Now, allegation number one by Washington Post, and it states and alleges that LIC's about $500 million of subscription of Adani Ports bond was for debt refinancing. The fact from publicly available data is that it was used for buyback of bonds maturing in 2027 and 2029. Important to note here that LIC gets additional profit of 950 crore rupees by way of its investment with 1.26% added spread over 15 years. So the question is Adani really dependent on LIC for its funding requirements? Well, LIC accounts only 3% of total debt, and 50% of the leverage of Adani Group really comes in from the overseas investors, and a wide base of that. Here's a list of, remember, the marquee investors which have participated in Adani's bond issuances. Now to the big question also on why LIC was the sole subscriber to the bond issuance at Adani Ports, and is it unusual? Well, the data suggests that LIC has been a sole or a very large investor in several of the large corporates in the country, including Reliance Industries. Another allegation by Washington Post suggests that several major American as well as European investors have shied away from investment due to bribery and fraud charges. Fact is that several marquee names like BlackRock, Rabobank, and many others listed here have invested in Adani Group in this particular year. LIC, as a large investor in equity markets, has minority stake in several of Adani Group stocks. A lot of these are either market trade by the investor or shares also received by way of value unlocking and listings over the years by Adani Group of companies. So the Washington Post allegations fall flat when we dug deep into the publicly available data of the listed companies of Adani Group of companies. So this is the big story that we are tracking today. All right, now to take it forward, let's take it straight across to some of the experts who are joining in. Sriram Subramanian, who's the MD and founder of InGovern. He is joining us now. Mr. Subramanian, when we talk about the corporate governance standards and the spotlight which has been put on LIC's investment decisions, how do you read this particular allegation by one foreign publication?
Good afternoon. Firstly, let us look at the data, which is LIC's investments in Adani Group companies. If I go back and I have the data which can be pulled up within seconds from the BSE and NSE website, LIC's investments in stocks of Adani Group, all the 7 listed companies, date back even to 2016 and much before. So from that perspective, it is tough to say that the government of India pressurized LIC to invest in Adani Group stocks. Secondly, LIC did subscribe to the rupees 5,000 crore bond issue by NCD issue by Adani Ports in May 2025. 5,000 crores, there was a single investor, which is LIC. But does the 5,000 crore matter to LIC or matter to Adani Group? One, was it market pricing? Firstly, this was a 15-year NCD issue at 7.75% coupon. Second, it's a AAA NCD issue, so rated by CRISIL. So be that as it may be, even if the government had pressurized, 5,000 crores is not a big amount for LIC's portfolio itself. For the assets that it manages, it's not a big amount. Two is Adani Group had put out in the stock exchange as an announcement that it is using the 5,000 to refinance its US bond issuances. And as you had pointed out, probably some of them were maturing in 2027 or 26. And so from that perspective, if you see the way the rupee is going, any US denominated bonds need to be refinanced with rupee bonds. And if they are priced market this one and AAA rated, Adani Ports, by the way, is a free cash generating company. And Adani Ports by far manages almost 30% of port traffic in India. Second, it also has assets apart from India in other geographies. So from that perspective, it's a marquee asset. So there is no risk to the bond investment of 5,000 crore, even be 15 years.
Right.
Second is, does LIC have holdings in other groups, not just Adani Group? Yes, you have not put out that data, which is LIC has large investments, much beyond even what it has invested in Adani Group with other groups, be it Reliance, be it ITC, etc. And generally, LIC's investments, LIC is almost like a permanent investor. In that sense, it invests in companies which have a horizon, and their investment horizon is 15 years, 20 years, 30 years. So from that perspective, there is no need to question LIC's investment. What Washington Post has put out is excerpts of notes, analyst notes of LIC, which almost is like a very crude this one. Any analyst writes out those analyst reports. Anybody investing in equities or bonds, even including my analyst or any fund manager writes out those notes. And LIC is just Washington Post is just putting out those as purported this one of any misdoing at LIC. So LIC has a process, and I think they have adhered to it.
Right. So very well made. Some of the important points which we have been also covering. Aditya Shah, founder of Hercules Advisors. Aditya, how do you see the stock market reaction to that? Adani Ports in particular had dropped close to 1%, but has substantially recovered from the low point of the trading session. How do you see it going forward and the stock reactions?
I don't think that this is particularly a news of importance from my perspective. From an asset perspective, most of Adani Group companies are doing well, and LIC has an AUM of about 55 lakh crores, and it is obvious that they are going to invest that kind of money in top corporates in the country, Adani being one of them. So I don't think that there is any surprise here that Adani has invested in equity as well as debt side of the business of Adani. There's no surprise here. From an asset perspective, it's a good asset to own for a huge, humongous group as Adani. Second point is, mind you, LIC's promoter is the government of India, although there is a Chinese wall between the government and LIC taking independent decisions. But the promoter is the government of India, and even if there are some investment decisions taken, of course, the promoter and the majority holder does have the right to direct. Mind you, in this case, there is no direction from the government of India. So I don't really understand what is the furor all about. LIC has been a marquee investment over the last 20-25 years and will continue to do so. It has investments in Reliance, it has investments within the Tata Group as well. So I don't think this is a news, this is a non-news. And I think those investments are a good thought out decisions from LIC.
Right. And Swapnil Kothari, senior lawyer, Supreme Court. Swapnil, from the legal point of view, this is an allegation not on Adani Group but per se, but it's actually from a foreign publication on the government of India and its interference in another publicly listed company where it has its holdings. How do you see this from the legal point of view, from the government side?
Well, I think, Nisha, let me tell you, this doesn't hold any water in a court of law, for the simple reason that when it's a mere reportage at the end of the day, it may have its sources. The sources could be something as infinitesimal, something very small, or it could be something big. But at the end of the day, LIC has done its due diligence. It has a board which takes these decisions, which makes these investment decisions, and this could possibly be a fraction of what LIC would invest in other companies also. So LIC could say that, look, we invested 2 rupees here, but we've invested 10 rupees and 15 rupees in other companies, and nobody has pointed a finger at that. Now, if for example, if there is an external influence, so be it. So what if somebody from the government has told me that you invest in Adani? It could be a simple financial advice given from the government functionary to a government-backed organization like LIC. So for that matter, it's a mere reference. Now, if people have made money, which I believe from whatever I've been told is that LIC has made a ton of money for its policy holders and for its shareholders from this particular investment in Adani. So if there's a win-win situation, unless there is some sort of a quid pro quo, some sort of a cashback or a kickback, which the officers have had for making this investment, then it gets tainted with illegality. Other than that, it's a mere reference. Now, in many public sector units, the government has play. So there is an interplay between government functionaries and the management of the PSU. So if I'm just giving extrapolating an example. So are you saying that whatever the decisions PSU is making at the behest of the government functionaries, so everything is wrong? The answer is no, it doesn't function like that. The court of law will not even entertain this kind of a petition or an application should there be such for saying that this is tainted with illegality, because as I see it, there is no illegality just because there is a particular foreign reportage in Washington Post which has said that this has happened at the behest. You go further than that. You tell us more that why it has happened. What was the kickback? Were any big houses built, or was there some cashback in some form? Then yes, then we could say that there is money laundering, there is corruption, so we could go into prevention of corruption or corrupt practices and all those kind of detailed legislations which look at all these kind of things. Other than that, this is nothing but water over duck's back, and I would not worry. LIC should not even worry about it, and the kind of rebuttal that they put up on their site was absolutely adequate. And if I may say further, I was there on NDTV Profit the other day, 2 days ago, on this particular issue itself, and I said that these kind of reports should not be dignified with a response, except the one that LIC put. Do you go further into this? You try to sue. You try to say that what are you doing? Why did you write this? This is only going to dignify the reportage. It should be just passed off as another report in a newspaper. And of course, Washington Post is a great newspaper with a great standing, but it's just one of those reports that comes once in a while, and we have to ignore it.
All right, Swapnil, very, very strong comments there coming in from Swapnil, and also that it needs to be backed by data is what he mentioned. Now, Jane Gupta, the former executive director of SEBI, joins us on the phone line. Mr. Gupta, what do you make of the allegations by Washington Post? The stock has had little impact of that particular reportage, and LIC has gone ahead and called these claims and allegations baseless. How do you read into it? And also, because Adani Group of stocks are listed, LIC is also a listed entity.
See, I just see it very simply that we should now learn to live with all type of allegations without giving any weightage to them. Time and again, it keeps on happening, and they do not understand or they do not believe in our system. And the issue is very simple. LIC is such an organization where a single person will never be able to take any decision. As far as I know, it has a investment team where there are multiple layers, and only after it passes any investment proposal, passes all those multiple layers in checks and balances, then only investment happens. That is one. The second, I have already explained in many other interviews, that LIC doesn't look into investment like a normal investor or even mutual funds look at. For the simple reason, LIC assets and liability is they do it for 10 years, 20 years type of thing. So it may appear that today LIC buys the share and it may go down tomorrow, but when it's a long term, and there have been, if you recall, 7-8 years back, there were a lot of allegations against LIC that they are buying shares on the PSU buying and other PSU companies. And everybody criticized. But I have said that LIC is not investing to reap the benefit next year. LIC is benefiting for the 10 years from 10. All those investments have turned into gold mine. The issue is very clear that I can make an allegation against you, you can make an allegation against me, but what is the substance in that allegation?
Right.
And the issue is this, Adani and LIC, State Bank, everything has been going on for 3 years, and I think it is time to bury all these things for together and not pay attention to any article coming here and there.
All right, Mr. Gupta, you're calling the articles baseless and not pay much attention to baseless allegations. But final word to you, Aditya Shah, while whether the allegations are proved or not, any allegation has an overhang. How much of that overhang do you see on the listed counters of Adani Group because of consistent allegations coming in?
I don't think, as I said, I don't think this allegation has any merit. The government of India is the promoter of LIC, and of course, the government of India does not interfere in LIC decisions. But but government of India does have the power to do so. LIC has an investment committee which takes all investment decisions, and the board has the power to look at decisions as well. So, from my perspective, does not hold any merit. This will not have absolutely any hangover on the stocks, and the stocks will move on. This will also not have a hangover on the LIC stock as well. All of that will also move on. So it's basically a non-issue from my perspective. Absolutely nothing to think about here, and move on.
Right. Thank you so much, Aditya Shah, Sriram Subramanian, Jane Gupta, Swapnil Kothari, for joining us with your take on this big news that we are tracking of Washington Post allegations on Adani Group.